Okay, welcome Peter and Boris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now at the end of the first game of the rapid chess match between Svidler and Gelfand. We completed 2 games out of a series of 8. Both resulted in a draw. First, I would like to introduce our grandmasters and ask a few general questions. My name is Gideon Japhet, and I'm co-organizer of the Gideon Japhet Memorial Chess Tournament. So, Peter, I'll start with you.
Sure.
It is not the first time you are in Israel, obviously.
Yeah.
So what is your history of playing in Israel?
Well, I've played in a variety of tournaments. I started, my first tournaments in Israel were the Haifa round robins, very, very nice tournaments I always enjoyed. And then I came perhaps the closest to a world championship title. I was basically one move away from being a world blitz champion, and I decided to do something very pretty instead of doing something very simple, and lost the Armageddon game to Aleksander in 05 or 06.
06.
06, yeah. I also played in Beersheba in the world teams, and in Eilat in European clubs. So I've played all over the country, but not in Jerusalem. This is my first time in Jerusalem.
Excellent. Boris, can you describe your track record against Peter so far? Not today, but historically.
I don't know exactly. I think in Classic I have small minus. I think I won, I don't know, 3-4 times and lost 5,
Some
6,
people know this, but
I don't know.
I never actually paid any attention to it, and I wouldn't be able to tell you either.
So you're not keeping a score?
No.
Some people do, and I never could really understand why.
I think in all total, I think we played more or less 60 games with all time controls.
Probably something like that.
It's estimate. So everyone can go to chess base and...
And the two of you are also friends outside of the chess game?
Yeah, Boris, you used to enjoy claiming that, of all the people in my life, he is perhaps, one of the, people who knows me the longest. And I think we first met when I was 11. Possibly he was training with Alexander Khalifman in what was then Leningrad, not even St. Petersburg. And Alexander invited me for whatever reason to join in for like half a day. And I was absolutely no use to them as a chess player. But
do you know if there are photos of you in the amazing albums that Boris's father has prepared?
No idea.
Oh, it's worth checking out.
No, Sarah, definitely Sarah. But I think Peter is wrong. First time we met in 1989 in Palma de Mallorca.
That actually is, it's too long ago. I have no idea how he remembers these things.
Yeah, 89.
89
I played Sarah, and it was one of my first big international successes. I had won open tournament with like 160 grandmasters. And Peter, as well as Vladimir Kramnik, Sergei Rublevsky.
Yeah, it was a session.
Some juniors were session.
The Dvoretsky school had a session on Mallorca to coincide with the tournament, and we ran. I think you were playing a blitz match against Dlugi.
No, I played a blitz match against Kramnik.
There was some kind
with
of a blitz
Dlugi
match.
With Dlugi I beat him in the
Peter,
tournament.
Tell me, today, who do you think has the advantage, the local or the visitor?
Well, judging by today, it's going to be a complete crapshoot. I mean, nobody can play, and it's going to be completely random. Judging by today's, I'm really hoping it's going to improve from what we've shown today. All bets are off if we continue playing like this.
Okay, so before we dive into the first game, Boris, can you describe how the match went for you on the first game?
Yeah, first game we played this very sharp line in the opening. It's not very... I don't think many games I played with it, but it's very sharp and...
Did you prepare some surprises?
I think I prepared it, but Peter also knew what he was doing.
I think if only I could remember my preparation, then my preparation would definitely be better than Boris, or deeper at least than Boris's. But unfortunately, at some point I realized that this is the main move, and there was a lot of attention paid to this move in my analysis, and I need to be very precise, but I have no idea what the answer is. And I tried working it out at the board and completely failed.
So let's start and go right to the point where things get interesting.
Yeah, I went via this weird move order to allow some things and avoid some things. Basically, you can play d4. If you want to play the Dutch, you can play f5 here, but it allows some other things. Obviously, if you play d6, you also allow white to play 2e4, and I mean it's all kinds of strange choices. And but now finally we're back to proper Dutch, and this is an important position where white has many opportunities, and rook e1 is perhaps the most critical one, because if this works, then queen e8 is just unplayable. But this line is incredibly sharp. I mean, I could go on for
actually it's pawn sacrifice.
Yeah,
yes.
This is a real pawn sacrifice already, and now black.
9.
Yeah, but black has to be very precise here, and almost on every move there is a serious, branching opportunity for white. Knight takes e4 is a reasonable move here, but after knight g5, queen b4, bishop f1 is a reasonable move here. But after knight g4, we get this position takes queen f7, where black is a pawn up, but he has no development, and it's obvious that white has at least a fantastic compensation for the pawn.
So Boris, at this stage, what is the plan here?
White's plan, yeah? The plan for white is pawn down, but it's have to exploit that the black's pieces are not developed.
Undeveloped, all of this?
All of this, and also a lot of targets, the pawns are not protected, so let's say I attack the queen, rook f4.
Yeah, no, but
and basically you attack something, try to create chaos, and you get some compensation.
I just wanted to point out that in this position you can't really talk about plans. Basically, if black consolidates, he does have a healthy extra pawn, but white's, if you want to call it a plan, white needs to be very forcing, and white needs to do something concrete before black gets his pieces out, and rook f4 achieves that.
If black would have the pawn on c6, the position would be almost one.
Yeah,
nothing for a pawn.
Well,
but here,
one is maybe an overstatement, but it will be a fantastic position.
Yeah.
But here, basically, it's a long forced variation where I think black is making only moves not to lose. Bishop f6 is strictly forced. Knight d5. I mean, you can play bishop d5. I think maybe there was even a game in this position which started with bishop d5, e6, and knight e4. It's a reasonable alternative, but black seems to be holding on, I think. So knight d5, and here already, as I said, you need to be extremely precise, otherwise you will end up in a very bad position. So g5, rook f3, and now it's important to start with c6, drive the knight to c7. It's also possible to take on f6, of course, but then if you take on g5, black plays bishop g4, and you have to sacrifice the exchange to continue. And I mean, white will have some positional compensation, but it's a whole exchange. So it's a, you need to be absolutely sure of what you're doing if you're entering this line. And after knight c7, bishop g4, knight a8, knight a6. Currently, black is a whole rook down, but there's a pin along the d1 h5 diagonal, and the knight on a8 should objectively get captured. So black is sort of currently a rook down, but potentially a pawn up still. And in this position, white has a lot of options, but the critical one, and I remember that it was the critical one, is d5. And I briefly looked at my notes, something like maybe an hour and a half, maybe even an hour before the game, and yet I still couldn't, for the life of me, remember what my notes say here.
I think Gelfand put a lot of thought in that move, actually.
Yeah, Boris up to this point, he spent maybe 15 out of his 25 minutes, and I was still, I had more time than I started with. But in this position, it doesn't really matter much, because if I make a wrong choice, I will end up in a bad position and also a very simple position for white to play. So it's kind of regrettable that I couldn't at all remember what I'm supposed to do here. I'm sure this is basically my preparation for Hante, for the world candidates. And I'm sure we were holding this position with my seconds. It's it's one of the positions we looked at in great depth, and I'm fairly certain there was a way here not to get a position I got, but I couldn't for the life of me remember what it was. And I went c5, and now takes queen d2, I think, is very strong. Because
Queen e1 is also possible, but Queen d2 is probably stronger.
yeah, because I guess the position I got was so unpleasant that maybe it was better for me to start with this, because there are fewer lines open on the king's side. But even this position, to be honest, is really not that much fun, because I mean the d5 pawn is potentially maybe slightly weak, but the bishop on g4 is just so far away. I mean, if this bishop was already, let's say, on d3 or g6 even, I would say maybe this is playable for black. But g4 is such a horrible square. Let's say if white does something like, I don't know, bishop e4, and it's just so difficult to get it to any decent square. So I don't know. Maybe this was better than what I did, but it's also not very attractive. And after h6, a4, once again, I am, you know, the choices I have here are all quite unpleasant. And I was trying to make something connected with queen d4 check work, but I don't think it ever.
Doesn't seem.
Yeah, I don't think something like, let's say, queen d4 check straight away, takes, fg, rook a8, gh, and something like rook c8. But the problem is something like bishop e4 and then bishop g6, bishop g5 might actually be mate. You know, this pawn on h6 is not going to be a lot of fun for me. This might be just objectively lost, to be honest. So I considered it for a while, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And the position I had, I mean, even after bishop takes h6 is not fun, but rook e1 is probably even stronger.
So something interesting happens next.
Yeah,
so,
but I went completely crazy here. But if I go king f7 and Boris takes on h6,
tell us what happened right there.
well, I just blundered. I mean,
is it a jet lag? Because there's
no,
no time zone difference.
It's not. It's just a very unpleasant position, and I felt that, you know, the king on f7 gets under attack. I mean, it's. You probably will end up having to play rook e8 anyway, and I was trying to save a move to activate my knight on h6. Basically, if after rook e8 white has to take on h6, then I have time to play knight b4, and maybe the a2 pawn is hanging, and maybe I will get time to play knight d3.
Boris, should you have blocked?
No, but Boris was completely winning.
It's a move later where I could do it. Yeah,
yes, but you failed to block it.
Yeah, we would discuss it in two moves.
I don't think it's necessary. Also, I mean, you could play rook f1 check, which I thought was very, very unpleasant as well. But basically, it's just a winning position for white, I think. The problem with rook f1 check is I actually have to go all the way back, and you play bishop f4, and after h5, you can play, I don't know, whatever you like. Once again, d6 is probably very strong, or bishop e4, or any move. Basically, in this position, even if white doesn't win by force, white is objectively winning strategically, because, you know, my position is just full of weaknesses, and I have no basically, I can maybe draw this position sometimes, but I can never equalize it, if you understand what I mean. You know, there is no path for me to equalize here. I will always be strategically much worse, maybe lost. But also what you did must be winning somehow. Bishop f4, h5, and d6.
Here I could play a3 also.
Yeah, I mean, a3, you know, I wouldn't say it's a completely resignable position already. I mean, I would probably continue, but the question does arise if I should maybe resign here, because I have no moves, and, you know, my position is just full of weaknesses. You know, h3, rook e5 will maybe collect the h5 pawn.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's very ugly. I mean, d6, knight b4. I am probably still losing by force somehow, but at least now I have some jumps.
Yes.
That was an improvement for me, because I felt, you know, at least maybe now I will force Boris.
There's a counter game here.
Yeah, I will force Boris to calculate some variations, which is, you know, a huge bonus for me already, you know, in a position.
Here
like
you are
this.
a bit ahead in time still.
Yeah, I was a little bit, but I don't think it was such a huge factor. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't see anything that was winning by force, and apparently people who were checking this with the computer also didn't find anything immediately decisive. But I mean, my understanding is, you know, this must be lost somehow.
But so Boris, where did you have possibly a missed opportunity here?
No, one question is here. Instead of d6, a3.
No, a3.
Instead of d6, h3 also is very interesting.
Yeah, no, any move here, basically.
h3.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think d6 maybe gives some chance, but I believe it was still winning. Rook f1, that's what I prepared.
Actually, what I think was very strong was you could play h3 and then give check.
Yeah, or king f7. I could do it without check.
And then just go rook e5.
Bishop g6.
And start collecting. Like,
Knight d3, I didn't like.
yeah, rook c7, and
Yeah.
you should be winning somehow. No, I mean, objectively, as I said, I mean, I can continue, I can pretend it's playable, but
It's not looking so good.
no, I resigned a few games prematurely in my life, so I'm not, I'm trying not to resign these days. And it seems to be bringing me points because I didn't resign in a completely resignable position against Magnus in Stavanger, and in that game I actually had some chances to win later on. So maybe it's actually a good policy not to resign too early. But this position is, it could very well be completely lost. Anyway, what you did, you took on b7. Yeah, and here it gets slightly tricky. The moment I block in this rook on f1 and there's no longer any moves for the rook, it gets slightly tricky. I suppose against the machine this is still completely lost somehow, but against a human player with a minute on the clock, I started having some slight hopes. Because
You were hoping for a draw.
no,
basically.
in this position I'm not hoping for a win. Yeah, it would be a bit too much. Bishop c6, rook g8. I think after d7 I can maybe even go bishop e2.
Yeah.
Bishop c7 takes, and I have knight e5 here, which wins material back. I think this might actually be legal.
Bishop b5?
This I did not. Rook f8 check.
Rook f8 check.
I'm lucky I have rook f8 check. Here already, I mean, if d7, king e7 is forced, then once again, this must be, I think it's still closer to a technical win than to a draw. But it's tricky because first of all, you don't want to give up this bishop on f4. You don't want to allow me to take it. And after bishop e3, h4, there are suddenly, concrete,
interesting opportunities.
yeah, concrete questions that you need to answer on very little time. It took me a while to play h4 because it took me a very, very long time to realize I have c4. I only thought about bishop e2 immediately, and then, opposite colored bishops are always, there's always some kind of hope, but this should be objectively lost. Because 2 pawns down is too much. And I was still probably going to go for this because I couldn't see anything better, but then I realized that in this position I have c4. And now it actually is, I think, legitimately tricky for white to win.
No, but may I ask a question?
Sure.
Instead of bishop e4, isn't it gh4 winning?
This I did not see.
No, I saw it, but I thought it complicates matters and then it turns down. Oh, it's Bishop f3 is or d7, whatever, it's the only move. f3 is the only move, I think.
Hang on, let me.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Because bishop h3, I play bishop g5.
Yeah, the problem was bishop g5 check and then rook f6
Rook
check.
f6.
Yeah, rook f6 check, and I have to resign. Yeah, so bishop f3 check.
Yeah, bishop g5.
Takes,
And g6.
and g6. Should be completely winning somehow.
Bishop d5 you have to play, and let's say g7. h4.
No, this has to be completely winning. Yeah.
Or b3 maybe.
I think they should just win by force somehow.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the point I already mentioned earlier in the program. This was not particularly high quality chess. And the fact that I didn't even consider g takes h4 is a bit shameful, to be entirely honest with you. Yeah, that explains it.
But it wasn't played.
It wasn't played, yeah. Instead, Boris played bishop b4, and maybe even here g takes h4 is a...
Yes, here the moves were exchanged really quickly. Like there was no.
No, but then okay, bishop I cannot play g6 and pawn is on c4.
Yeah, it's a bit.
It's just
it's
a waste
bit,
of 2 tempos.
Yeah, it's a big,
no, f3
bishop
better.
f3, of course, yeah. Bishop f3. What? How did this happen? I'm sorry. I did something.
Put notation, so we will jump quickly.
I'm almost there. Yeah. So bishop b4, c4, and now if g4, yeah, bishop f3. Keeps on doing that. I actually did not do anything wrong, apparently.
Maybe some overwrite.
No, that will probably be wrong.
Notation.
Yeah. Bishop b4, c4, and okay. And in this position, yeah, gh4, bishop f3 check, bishop g5 check, takes, bishop takes e4 is a much improved version, of course, for black, because as Boris said, g6 is impossible, and perhaps b2 will be hanging in some positions. And after bishop a7 takes bishop b2, I mean,
It's a draw.
yeah, I'm very close to a draw. I mean, the winning attempt, I guess, is in this position to play king h3. But yeah, I think I should be.
No, but it's dead draw.
I think I should be holding
It's
this
dead draw.
position reasonably comfortably. Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Bishop f3.
Bishop f3 maybe straight away. Yeah. This is not really a winning attempt as such. I mean, game continues, but black should hold this quite comfortably. So I mean, the obvious conclusion is I got very lucky, and I should try and do something with my memory capabilities. Not sure what though. I mean, something needs to be done, but what exactly, I'm not quite sure.
Anything to add, Boris?
Of course, it's not nice to miss a win in such a position, yeah.
Would have been a good start for the series.
Yeah, but okay, match goes on, yeah. Nothing to do.